Welcome to First. I'm Shirley Min, along with Mark Eichman and Nichelle Polston. Porcelain painting goes back to ancient times. Meet the woman who took a hobby and turned it into a lifetime pursuit.
Sometimes art is just an act of whimsy. A Newark artist finds inspiration almost anywhere, even from her car.
And Lewis, the lightship Overfalls, adds history to the Delaware arts and culture scene. What do all these stories have in common? It's the First Experience edition of First, and it starts now.
For this week's program, all you need is an appreciation for the arts and culture that surrounds us in the First State.
Take Irma Reinhold, for example. She's been painting porcelain pieces for 50 years. She started out doing watercolors, but a little porcelain pig she received as an engagement present changed all of that.
Let's head to Irma Reinhold's Wilmington home to check out her work. This is First Experience number 1.
I have been painting for 50 years or more. I had been given this little pig when we were engaged, and it was for hors d'oeuvres, a hostess gift, and it had lovely little flowers all over it. It was very charming. It was a very lighthearted thing, and that just kind of perked my interest. And that's what started it all. And that has been my life for the past 50 years with my painting. I paint primarily on porcelain. I do some oil, but primarily on porcelain. I paint on plates and tiles and things. It's an ancient art form, actually, and the materials that we use are basically the same as were used by the Chinese when they first developed it. They don't have art schools for this, and so you did basically what your teacher taught you, and she would have different patterns. You know, I wanted to do more of what I wanted to paint, and not just these things. And I truly love nature and animals, and especially the little ones that are out in the backyard and all that. I know not everyone likes squirrels, but I think they're very pretty. I think they're darling. Today, the challenge, and it is a challenge, is to work on these larger tiles that are framed for the wall. It's unforgiving, you know. Once I fire it, it's not like with oil I can then go over it, or watercolor maybe wipe it out. I'm stuck with it. I was doing for a while the holly bowls once a year. Every Christmas, so I would have a holly bowl. Never the same design, because I don't do that. I would go bonkers. But I do love holly. That was always fun because I know it was somebody who really, you know, they got it. That it was Delaware's tree and that it was Christmas and, you know, the whole thing. For people who buy it, when they see it at a show, they are generally people who really have an appreciation for that kind of thing. You know, not everybody does. It's like pottery or whatever, you know, it's a certain style. But the people who buy it really are thrilled. It's exciting. You know, you mentioned before about how do I feel when I see it go. There are certain pieces, you know, you're just so thrilled that they're going to someone who really loves it. But there was one person whose husband bought it for her. I don't think she had any appreciation for what that was at all. And I felt it was a little panda, and I thought, oh, I feel sorry for that little panda, you know. But I was really feeling sorry for me that someone else didn't get it. But that's not the norm. That was just one time, and that's why I remember that so well. It's like any other painting. I think my satisfaction comes when I feel I've done a really good job. And if I'm not happy with it, you know, I don't hesitate to get rid of it because I don't want that to be considered, you know, part of me. I work hard to do it. So hopefully they will enjoy it through the years.
As if Irma wasn't busy enough, she also founded the Delaware Foundation for Visual Arts. The group provides scholarships to high school seniors who want to work in the visual arts. The foundation also holds workshops and art shows throughout the year. Learn more at dfva.org.
Deborah Appleby is just as creative as Irma, but took a different path to her art. She once had a thriving downtown clothing store in Rehoboth, but as the outlet malls grew, she saw the writing on the wall. For First Experience number 2, meet the clothing retailer who became a glassblower.
I am a Delaware native, and I've had the shop here since '99. I've been blowing glass for 22 years. I am predominantly a production glassblower, making traditional functional pieces, and that's the basis of my work. I had a men's clothing store and a men's business, a clothing line, t-shirt, jewelry, and I knew that it was in town, and the outlets were coming, they weren't here yet. And we went from having 3 men's stores to having almost 15 men's stores. And I was on a buying trip in New York, and I saw this ad for a glassblowing weekend at Urban. And I went, and I was like, that's it. Each idea in each piece comes from something that I've either had inspiration from outside of my environment, I've been doing a lot of colors with the ocean, of course, and that kind of thing. Is it something that hopefully will stand the test of time, that you will love and pass down to your children? That's more where I come from. I never looked at things as artistic. I was never going to be a sculptor. I was never going to be a goblet maker. But I wanted to make well-crafted pieces that were pleasing to the eye as well as functional. I'm a craftsperson, and I think about the functionality of, will the colors work with the piece? Does the neck flow with this? I'm more about structure and about, is the lip going to balance with the base? It's more that's my dialogue. There are days where I'm really happy. I am happy to come on and the pieces work out and is well crafted and beautiful. And there are days I hate it, like, really? Another spin bowl in the process of how many spin bowls, of how many days of spin bowls? But every day can't be perfect. I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing. And I've been grateful for doing what I'm doing, and I have the work, but it's not flowing out of me like artists, I hate to say. It is from here, through here, and it comes out here, and it is a piece of me. But there's something about that making with the hands. You know, there's some days where, especially when we're making some of the bigger pieces, or we're in a production, there's 13 of us working, and there is this joy, it's this energy that flows. That camaraderie, that joy, that energy, and that we're all coming together and making a finished piece, and we're happy and proud. We're proud of that piece. So that's kind of what gets me up in the morning, and I'm happy when these pieces leave, that hopefully someone will really enjoy it and that they'll pass it on.
Let's head back up Route 1 for experience number 3 and introduce you to the eclectic artist who runs the Dragonfly Art Studios. She's a woman who finds inspiration in everything she touches, even her car.
My name's Dragonfly Elethrum. I've been an artist forever. I work in a lot of different mediums. The only thing I really don't do right now is clay, and I don't like the way it dries on your hands. It kind of gives me the willies. I've had a lot of art classes. I went to a lot of different colleges and workshop programs. Whatever I'm interested in, I try to find out as much as I can about it. I feel that if the studio's in my house, I can just wake up and get to work. I don't have to, commute anywhere. I can have the dog with me. I can make coffee when I want it. To other people, it might look cluttered, but, It's very organized, and it's my happy space. Right now I'm doing a stained glass project for Special Olympics Delaware. They have an award ceremony every fall, and we make, it's called Night of Heroes, and we make the awards for, the winners. And then in the wintertime, we also do polar bear plunge. We'll make the awards for the polar bear plunge, and then if someone retires, they get one of my stained glass windows. Oh, the art cars. I just get bored driving. I commute a lot for work. There's about 4 or 5 different colors of cars out there. They're all the same. It's boring. So I wanted to, add a little color to the commute and brighten things up a little bit. And it's just fun. I actually can't see the paint when I'm driving. So sometimes I forget I'm driving in a painted car, and I'm like, why are people staring at me? Why can't I change lanes, But it's fun. It makes the day better. Each medium has its own thing. Like when I paint murals, I get to sit out on the street and talk to people. I really like that. Stained glass, the final product with the light coming through, is always amazing, and I really like that. So there's bits and pieces of every medium that I really like. I just hope it's a positive experience. I like to put a little humor in stuff. I like to, I just want people to be happy. I want them to be happy when they look at the work. So it's, I just want to, make their day a little better. That's my main objective, so.
If you want to check out more of her work, go to dragonflyartstudios.com. Up next is an example of how art can blend with history and can be found in the strangest places. At the Delaware Museum of Natural History lies one of the largest natural history collections in North America. For experience number 4, let's go rumbling around the museum's attic.
I'm Dr. Jean Woods, and I'm the Curator of Birds and the Director of Collections here at the Delaware Museum of Natural History.
My name is Elizabeth Shea, and I'm the Curator of Mollusks here at the Delaware Museum of Natural History.
The bird collection here at the museum has 112,000 specimens. We have study skins, we have skeletons, and we have eggs, and they're from all over the world. It's the only major natural history collection here in Delaware of birds and mammals. We have the second largest collection of eggs in North America. That's a real unique resource. And this is how we know what the different species of animals are in the world, and where they're from, and what their different appearances are. Today, they continue to be used by researchers from all over the world, doing a wide variety of different types of research. The specimens that we have here, many of them are over 100 years old, and there's no way to replace them. We have examples of extinct species. The specimens in museums are all that we have left of those species, and that's the only way to study them.
We have one of the largest collections of mollusks in North America, and mollusks include things like snails and clams and oysters and cephalopods, squids and octopuses. We have over 250,000 lots of shells, and we have maybe over 2 million individual shells is what our best estimate is. We keep them here and we care for them. We make sure that they are digitized. We urge people to come and to use the collection, and so scientists will come and study the collection, or we'll send specimens to them. We have specimens that were collected in the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, so we can really reach back in time using a collection like this. So it's really an interesting kind of time capsule. You can reach into the past and see how things have changed. I've got a great job. My job is kind of divided between 3 different areas. One is care of the collection. I also work with exhibits and with educational programming. Then the third part, which I really love, is doing the research, being engaged in active research projects that are really, pushing the edges of what it is that we know.
I love working with the specimens, working with the researchers who are doing the research. It's exciting to know that I'm helping them do their research and learn new things about the world of birds. We're trying to preserve a sample of the diversity of life on Earth. And that diversity is changing all of the time. And so, it's important that we continue to document this as time changed.
This is a tremendous resource that we have here in Delaware. It's a dynamic place. It is constantly moving and changing and evolving, and we're just getting started.
Here's an interesting fact. The passenger pigeon, one of the birds you saw in the story, was hunted for food and went extinct in 1914. You can sample the collection by visiting the museum any day of the week. Private tours upstairs can be arranged by contacting the museum. Go to their website, delmnh.org, to learn more.
Coming up on First, the lightship Overfalls ties together Delaware's great maritime history from its home in Lewis. And in Dover, it's a 100-year-old whodunit that still reads like a modern mystery.
We'll continue with our first experience stories in a moment. But First Person brings back Barry Schlecker to our studio. Barry, so great to see you again.
Nice to see you.
The Wilmington Film Festival is going into its third year now.
Here in Wilmington, yes.
And that's beginning April 23rd.
Yes.
Are you happy with how it's grown over the years?
Yes. I mean, it was the new kid in town as far as events. We were lucky enough to let Penn Cinema allow us to do it there. It's a great theater, state-of-the-art. All the bells and whistles, Barca Lounger seats, big screens, big sound. And after 10 years in Newark, which was very successful, in a small local theater, we come to the big city, so to speak, and it's a beautiful setting, so we're growing every year.
And you've got a good mix of films, some big box office films.
Our motto, or our, whatever you call it, our reason for being is to show those small films you should have seen and probably didn't. But this year was a little different because a lot of those little films were very popular. This is the first year, all of a sudden, you had one big movie at the Academy Award and the other 7 that were all small movies that people sort of knew about, but really no blockbusters.
But I mean Birdman, Foxcatcher, Boyhood.
We know all about those films, but if you look at the amount of money they brought in, somebody at the Academy Award mentioned that American Sniper made more money than all other 7 films combined.
That puts it in
perspective.
So
it was in People magazine and it was on the, but not many people went to see them. And I really think you need to see them on the big screen.
Last year, I know you had a compilation of shorts from local filmmakers. Are you going to do that again this year?
We call it Delaware Shorts. And we have a curator from Rehoboth, Rob Waters, is a filmmaker, and he's asked several people to submit films. He takes it down to about an hour and a half of Delaware Shorts. And we'll show that twice over the weekend.
There's a biopic that was first shown on CNN about the life of Roger Ebert that is going to be played. Do you think the response will be good for something that was first aired on television? Sometimes I think Lifetime movie, but...
Well, but Roger Ebert is the reason we all have film festivals.
Right.
So I would feel this is really, since a movie about him, and yes, I did see it. I saw it at Theater N. I think everybody who's a movie buff should see this film. It's a little hard to watch. He helped make the movie. It was his idea. And he died right after the film was finished. And so, yes, I'm glad it was seen on TV first, but a couple of films have happened that way. Citizens 4, TV, out into film festivals, now back to TV.
I want to talk about an interesting film called Deli Man, and tell us what that's about.
Smell it, folks. Smell the love. I'm third generation in the delicatessen business. All right, how we doing, guys?
It's about the rise and fall of delicatessens. I mean, we happen to live in an area where there really aren't delicatessens. And at one point, and the movie points out there were almost, I think it's 15,000 delis in the New York area. It's like 150. So, I mean, people are assimilating. People are moving away from those concentrated areas of ethnics. And so what's happened is the deli's going away. And so it's about a guy who has a great deli in, of all places, Houston, Texas, and how he's surviving.
So it's not just about a corned beef sandwich.
No, although
they are pretty good.
Just saying corned beef gives me heartburn, but it's a good heartburn.
All right, Barry Schlecker, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for being here on First. Good luck with the Wilmington Film Festival.
April 23rd.
April 23rd.
Through 26th.
And you can go to wilmfilm.com to keep up on everything. Again, the festival starts April 23rd.
Ever heard of a lightship? There were once lighthouses on ships, obviously, and they protected America's waterways for decades. The lightship Overfalls protected the Delaware Bay near Lewis. After some hard times, the ship is back as a National Historic Landmark. Experience number 5 traces the ship's history and the efforts taken to restore it to its former glory.
Welcome to the Lightship Overfalls, here on the canal in the beautiful Canal Front Park in Lewis, Delaware. The Lightship Overfalls is one of the last few remaining of a fleet of floating lighthouses. They built a total of 179 of these, and most of those are long gone, and we are the only one in Delaware that's a National Historic Landmark. The Overfalls Shoals is a very dangerous place, and it's right in the middle of the entrance to Delaware Bay, a major shipping thoroughfare. They needed the navigational aid to prevent accidents, but they couldn't build a permanent structure. So they got the idea of putting a light on a boat. In 1970, a local historian who lamented the loss of our lightship Overfalls out here in the bay saw in a publication that there was one for sale for $1. So down he went with a tugboat friend, and they hauled it up here. And then in 1999, the current foundation took it over and began the restoration process.
I've been here for 16 years, and I've been heading up a group called the Dirty Hands Gang. And this is the group that have restored this ship. And during the past 16 years, we've put in about 30,000 man-hours of restoration and maintenance on this ship. When we first got the ship, it was in dire straits. It had been sitting here in this place for about 30-some years, virtually no work whatsoever done to it. We managed to get the ship pulled out of here in 2008, and we took it to Kelowna Shipyard in Norfolk, Virginia. When they got done power washing the hull of the ship, it looked like Swiss cheese. We got it down there, got the new hull on it, brought it back here to where the current slip. We redid all the grounds, the landscaping and all to match up with the rest of the park here. We could physically see after every given day how much more progress we made to this ship. And that was so much of a reward, it was unbelievable, and the satisfaction of seeing it is here today. I have met such wonderful people in this organization, made so many new friends.
I love the ship, I love what it represents. For me, I came to Lewis in 1962, and it was out there, and it's one of the first things I saw when I went on a fishing trip, was it was out there along with its 3 other sister lightships doing its job. And then to see it fall apart was heartbreaking. So to be part of that team that was able to bring it back together and to tell that story for future generations is really important to me. My grandchildren call it Grandma's Light, so I'm pretty dedicated.
Today, seeing people come on a ship and asking all the questions and kind of marveling at it, and just seeing the kids' eyes, they sparkle, and it's a really reward that I've had, and I've been on here for 16 years and doing this, heading it up. And I'll never forget it. It's been one of the great experiences of my life.
The Lightship Overfalls was designated as a National Historic Landmark in 2011. The ship is open for tours again starting May 23rd. There are only 17 out of an original 179 ships left in existence. You can find more information on the Overfalls on their website, overfalls.org.
For experience number 6, let's combine history and a murder mystery. In the summer of 1898, Dover became connected with a first for the town and the U.S. Postal Service. Let's head to the green for the story.
The house behind me is called the Poison Candy Murder House. It was the home of Congressman John Pennington, and he lived there with his wife and 2 remaining children, Mary Elizabeth and Ida. In 1898, it was the site of the first ever United States Postal Service murder, the first time the Postal Service had ever been used to commit murder. Mary Elizabeth met the dashing young man, John Dunning, and so the 2 of them got married. John Dunning was a newspaper reporter. He applied for and got a job in San Francisco. He and Mary Elizabeth moved out to San Francisco. Soon he fell into some of the vices that San Francisco had to offer: drinking, gambling, and spending a lot of time with women who were not Mary Elizabeth. But it eventually got to the point where she couldn't take it anymore. And so she took her daughter and she came back to her father's house here in Dover to live her life. After dinner in August of 1898, the family sat out on the porch and they sent their young nephew down to the post office to get the mail. Inside the mail was a package. Its postmark was San Francisco, California. On the top was a note that said, "To you and baby with love," signed Mrs. C. Underneath the note was a lace handkerchief, and underneath the lace handkerchief was a box of chocolate bonbons. She and her sister proceeded to eat almost the entire box themselves. The next day, they were both very sick. The day after that, however, they were both dead. They had both been poisoned by arsenic. Mr. Pennington launched an investigation immediately, hired a detective. First person they wanted to talk to was Mr. John Dunning. He was presented with the evidence, and he knew exactly who it was. It was a Miss Cordelia Botkin. When he was assigned to report on the Spanish-American War, Cordelia Botkin thought he was going back to his wife, but she decided to take matters into her own hands. No one should have him if she could not have him. The trial is held. Evidence is presented. And Mrs. Botkin is found guilty. She's moved to San Quentin, where she lives out the rest of her life. And in 1907, she dies of softening of the brain due to melancholy. We tell this story as often as possible to make sure we keep it alive and make sure we keep the memories of the family and the 2 innocent women who have died alive.
As you can imagine, there were no winners in this case. Cordelia Botkin appealed her conviction and was found guilty in a second trial. John Dunning's career was destroyed by the publicity. If you're interested in learning more about this case, you can find retired Delaware State Police Detective John Allstadt's book, With Love to Yourself and Baby, at your local library or at Amazon.com.
And next week we are back with a regular edition of First. If you want to watch any part of this show, just go to WHYY.org/first.
Our thanks also to experienced producer Brian Druin. If you have an idea for a great experience story, send us an email at delawarenews@WHYY.org. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Nichelle Polston and Mark Eichman, I'm Shirley Min. Have a great week.